It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Texas training camp is about to start. Are we blessing or are we stressing?
That would be Sarge.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? You're tuned to the Texas Tailgate Talk, Texans Happy Hour. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Oh, I know my neighbor's gonna be mad, but look, they know I've been loud since I moved over here. Hold on. Okay, let me be honest with y'all about tonight, right? Because look, I'm old. Okay, let me just let y'all know that right now. I'm old, so I can't be drinking too late. So today, I'm gonna be honest with you. This ain't liquor. This ain't nothing but some lemonade and some water mixed in together. Cause you know what else I realized? One thing I realized that I'm getting old, and I can't drink as it's some of these things be too sweet for me. So I gotta mix it with a little water. I'd be like, whoo. So this ain't liquor. I mean, it's a Texas happy hour, of course, but this ain't liquor. This is just lemonade and hold on. Lemonade, chopped up lemons, and water. Now, I will be drinking some of that. You already know that. But the Texas Happy Hour is sponsored by Hall Family Estates. They say you can't buy happiness, but you can buy wine, and that's the closest thing to it. Make sure you're going to www.hallfamilyestates.com. Once again, you're tuned to the Texas Happy Hour. I'm your host, Big Sarge. My wife heard that all the way in the living room. Make sure you follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Follow me on the Tick and the Talk at Big Sarge Media. Make sure you're following me on Instagram at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Because we do everything for the gram. And make sure you're subscribed to the Texans Tailgate Talk podcast, available wherever you get your podcast from. And the Texas Tailgate Talk YouTube channel, all one word, Texans Tailgate Talk. And on Friday, my exclusive article about Nico Collins will be out on www.bigsargemedia.com. Now, listen, I know y'all love to see me. I know y'all love to hear me. And look, and even if you don't, I'm gonna say you do anyway, because like T.O. said, right? Like the great Negro poet Terrell Owens, Hall of Fame wide receiver, says, I love me some me. So I know y'all couldn't wait to see me, right? I ain't gonna even lie. Y'all ain't come to see me. This is who y'all came to see here, right? This is who y'all came to see. Joining the Texans Happy Hour right now is, so I've called you Stressan so much, and I think that I knew your name, but I never really knew your name, and I didn't want to get it wrong. I always associate you. How I can remember your name is from the guy who just got paid, the wide receiver Garrett Wilson with the New York Jets. He just got paid, right?
Yeah, he did. That would be nice to be him for sure. There is a Garrett Williams in the league too, a cornerback.
Oh, really? He
plays for the Cardinals. I think he was at Syracuse or Illinois. Yeah, he's got 2 T's, but yeah.
Wow, I did not know that. But joining the Texas Happy Hour right now is Garrett Wilson, aka Houston Stressan. Garrett Williams. What did I say, Wilson?
Yeah, that's all good. You got mixed up.
Be honest with you, man. Look, in 25 minutes is my bedtime, but I'm gonna stay up a little bit longer just for you.
I appreciate that.
No. It's okay. We have Garrett Wilson, aka Houston Stressans. All right, look, let me jump right into this thing because I have to know. How did you get into this content creator space in which you're in? And it isn't just the Houston Texans. It is the Houston Rockets. It is the Houston Astros. It is the NFL. It is the NBA. It is Major League Baseball. How did you get into this content creator space that you're in?
Man, it's totally organic. I'm born and raised, Houston, all Houston sports teams. Like ever since I could walk and talk, I've loved sports. Like there's a story like of me being at a friend's house in like second or first grade and spend the night. And, I'm like up there in the morning sitting next to my friend's mom drinking coffee, like asking for the, newspaper to check the standings. Like that's just who I've been. And, most people are like that, I feel like, but most people are kind of in the shadows or on their personal accounts and kind of don't really interact much. And I just decided to start a Twitter to like kind of fire my takes off because, I had played football and trained. And so I know a decent amount about the game and kind of wanted to get my opinion out there. And one thing just led to another. It kind of started growing. And then like you start learning more. You see like people like you are doing shows like this. And, honestly, like where it's gotten to today, like it was never planned. None of this is planned. It's just a natural evolution.
Yeah.
I'm in a position to where I have the time and freedom and flexibility with, job and family to be able to do stuff like this. So I'm very fortunate in that regard. And I have the freedom to do what I want. Like you mentioned, like all the sports, like I want to talk about this or that. I just say what I want. So it's been awesome, man. But it's been a natural evolution and I've loved every second of it. Like I've loved getting to meet people like you and like you've been on my show. I've gotten to know you better and just interact with people daily. So it's been a blessing, I guess I got to say.
Definitely has been a blessing. Now, I know that you do, that you create a lot of content. You also write, but away from doing all of that, away from always making sure that you have the best coverage on, especially all the Houston teams. Who is Stressan? Like, who are you? We know you. Definitely know you from from social media and from the articles that you write and from the appearances that you make. But I mean, who is Houston Stressan?
That's a good question. I feel like, as much as I tweet and interact, like my personality can kind of be conveyed, but I'm a down to earth, chill dude. I'm a father, I'm a husband. I got 2 young girls, love my wife and kids, like they're my world. They're very understanding of me doing this stuff. My wife probably, would wish I would spend less time on this, but I'm just a down to earth, chill guy, never met a stranger. Like I enjoy, talking with people. Obviously I love football. I love the Texans. Like that's probably right up there, with family and God. And then it's probably Houston Texans, so I mean, I really don't know how to explain myself. I'm just a normal dude.
Sometimes it makes it so hard for you to have to talk about yourself. I know that I was on a show over at Texas Southern University a couple of weeks ago, and the host of the show, I've been knowing her since I think 2017, if I'm not mistaken, 2016, 2017. So like we're like, I call her like my little sister, and she's like, yeah, so I was on her show. She's like, so tell them a little bit about yourself. I was like, I don't really know how to talk about me. I said, but I guess if I have to channel my inner Terrell Owens, T.O. is who I always go to when I have to be like, okay, I got to talk about myself. Remember, I love me some me. So I just get out there and I just start talking. But, like I said, man, I've gotten a chance and an opportunity myself along with others, as far as being in the media is concerned. I mean, a lot of people respect you a lot. They have a lot of. I've never heard a negative thing said about you. As far as media members are concerned, the ones, especially the ones that I talk to, and the other, fans, content creators, people who support the Texans tailgate talk, the people who support my content always have great things to say about you, man. So before we jump in and start talking about the Texans and with training camp coming up in less than a week now, it's training camp will be starting. It looks like I'm saying to myself, I know we had a break, I know we had a dead period, but it seems like football is back and it came back so quickly. But like I said, I know that you're a diehard Houston sports fan. So I got to get this out the way before we even start talking about the Texans. How did you feel about the Houston Rockets trading for Kevin Durant?
Yeah, so real quick before that, I'll address like you mentioning, the local media members and the respect. That means a lot to me. I mean, that's what I've enjoyed a lot about, what I've done naturally with this is meeting people and getting to know you guys. Cause I think it's important for us to, get to know y'all guys that we, rely on and enjoy getting news from. So that means a lot. I got a lot of respect for what y'all do too. Like I've learned to have a much greater appreciation when you're on the outside before you kind of like dip your toes in like I'm doing now. You really don't know what all goes into it. Like everyone works their ass off in this industry. So hats off to all you guys. But as far as the KD trade, man, so, like going into a trade, like, there was talks about getting Giannis. I was against that. Like everyone's griping about how we don't have a shooter, but then you want to go get Giannis. Like you want to get more of the same. So to me, we needed a shooter. Obviously, like I was kind of wanting like my 1A would have been Booker, but it sounds like the price obviously would have been higher. But I mean, but I mean, with Kevin Durant, man, I mean, I love it. I mean, obviously the player, but before the trade happened, you go through hypotheticals. No one had the trade that we had to give up. They didn't have it being that low. So we absolutely won the trade and we kept pretty much most of our core in. Obviously the Jalen Green part's tough. I didn't know if they were going to trade him or not. I know, you're a fan of his. I was kind of stuck on that. Like I always supported him. I'm one of those guys that I like to give athletes the benefit of the doubt more often than not, or a little bit longer than most fans do, whether it's Texans or whatever. And so I was, defending him in the playoffs, and I didn't like necessarily get completely out on him. Like I think they could have ran it back and been fine.
Yeah.
But once the trade happened, obviously it sucked that he was gone, but you kind of sit there and look at it. And really, like, I think it's kind of like similar to some of the Texans moves and what they've done from listening to Rafael Stone talk about it. Like, I think he was mostly moved because of his cap number. Like he says in the NBA, when trades happen, you got money coming in, you got to have money going out. And so that was the low hanging fruit. And it also happened to coincide with all the, hoopla. So, but yeah, I mean, I love it, dude. I mean, KD's a dog. He's got the connections with Ime, through various times throughout his career. He's played against them. He fits the mentality. He's going to give us a chance to win right now. He's going to be a great mentor for all the players, Jabari Smith, Amen Thompson, Şengün. And I think too, like, I think we don't need to play him every game. Like we saw what happens. Like it comes down to the playoffs. Like just get in the dance and then you're good. So, if there's back-to-backs, like rest them. I don't care about all that stuff, man. So I love it. I think, and then also too, like the benefit of that is like, I never realized like how big these superstars, like how much like weight they bring in. Like all of a sudden the spotlight is like all over us. So I'm all about it, man. I'm blessing it.
And it's crazy because I think that LeBron James is the GOAT, right? And hold on, let me preface my statement by saying this because there's always an argument when you like if someone says LeBron is the GOAT, people quickly say, "Oh no, it's Michael Jordan." And I always have to tell people the greatest of all time when it comes to the NBA is subjective. It's like if you go to a car lot and your preference is a truck over a car, you're going to get a truck. And if for the reasons that you like a truck, if you like a car for the reasons you like a car, you're going to get a car. So it's just all about what goes into what you feel is the GOAT. Like, what are the intangibles you look for to make him the GOAT? Because some people, they say Michael Jordan, and they'll say LeBron James, and then other people be like, well, Kobe is some people's GOAT. Tim Duncan is some people's GOAT. Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, it's just, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. And so it's all about your preference and what you look for. So I say LeBron because LeBron is the only player that, of course, with the points, he has the points, he has the rebounds, but at his size, he's top 5, if I'm not mistaken, in assists. So that means he's getting his and he's getting other people involved. And he's like a point forward, if you want to call it that. And so, I look at it and I say, that's what takes him to the top for me and makes him makes him the GOAT for me. I preface that to say that even though LeBron is my GOAT, Kevin Durant is my favorite basketball player. Like Kevin Durant, I pretty much watch like 90, I won't say anywhere between 92 and 95% of Kevin Durant's games, from UT to Seattle to OKC to Golden State to Brooklyn to Phoenix, and now I get an opportunity to cover him. I'm happy he has an opportunity to play with a team that he could leave his imprint on outside of OKC. I'm happy for that. But on the flip side, this is how I look at it. And you know, I haven't said this anywhere. So because I'm talking to you, I'm going to let the viewers and the listeners in on a little secret, right? So you remember the article that came out and Jalen said something to the effect, I think Danielle wrote it, Danielle Lerner, who covers the Rockets for the Houston Chronicle. He said something like he expected to be traded, or he knew it was coming, or he could see the writing on the wall, especially when he took that contract. He doesn't take that contract, it makes it harder for them to trade him. But he said he kind of seen the writing on the wall. Nobody, I haven't tell anybody about this. So I had a conversation with Jalen after the Mavericks traded Luka, right? And I said, Jalen, just asking him, what you think about the trade, because I think it was coming up on the time where they had to play. I think it was leading up to when they had to play the Mavericks, and Anthony Davis was going to play his first game for the Dallas Mavericks. So I was like, Jalen, what you think about? I said, I can't believe that the Mavericks got rid of Luka. I was like, he is the Dallas Mavericks. And he said, Sarge, in this league, anybody can get traded. He said, I wouldn't be surprised if I did. He said, I wouldn't be surprised if I got traded by the end of the season. And I said, well, why would you say that though, Jalen? You're like the cornerstone of this franchise. You help you've been through those down years. He said, yeah, Sarge, this is a business. He said, at the end of the day, we play basketball, but this is a business. And I said, huh? So when they traded him, I was like, okay, I get it. I did not like the fact that he took the brunt of the blame when there are so many other things that went on throughout that series. Yes, Jalen did not score. He took responsibility for it. Şengün did not have a good series. He even said he did not have a good series. Ime got out-coached. That entire coaching staff got out-coached by Steve Kerr, and they couldn't hit free throws. So, as I digress, right, I say all that to say, hey, man, I'm happy that KD's in Houston.
No, that's cool. I mean, like I'm glad you shared that about Jalen Green, and his response seemed to be very mature. Like, it's tough because he obviously didn't want to leave and still showed love to us, but he also showed that he's mature for a young guy to understand it. And that is, maybe he was prepared for it, or maybe they had tried stuff before or was aware of it. But so that's good as a fan to know, okay, he's good. But yeah, no, I agree. I'm like, it was just tough too. And, we could have ran it back. I mean, it's almost like this is almost very akin to D'Amico firing Bobby Slowick, honestly. Jalen Green and Bobby Slowick. You could have made a case to run it back with Bobby Slowick in hey, just give me one more year. I'm developing. This is the third year. Same with Jalen Green. But in both situations, we're trying to win right the hell now. We're going all the way in. So we're greedy. Ime, Rafael Stone, they're greedy. They said, okay, Jalen Green, we probably could develop you and work with you, but you know what? We got KD. We're going to get him. Same thing with D'Amico and Nick. Hey, Bobby, we could probably continue to grow, but you know what? We want someone else right now.
That's what I always say.
That kind of just clicked. That's kind of a crazy analogy.
I've always said that it's so crazy. I've been saying this for at least the last two years. I said the Texans and the Texans and the Rockets are the Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other. They're the exact same team.
So in so many ways, dude, it's crazy,
right? And they're the exact same team. And so you think about it, it's like this. It's like with the Texans, if Nico doesn't miss as much time as he did, if they don't lose Tank in week 16, if they don't lose Stephon Diggs, if they don't lose, Aziz to injury and to suspension, if they don't lose Will Anderson Jr., to injury, you're playing a game like, damn, what could have been? So that's the exact same way with the Rockets. They lose Jabari Smith for a significant amount of time. Alfred Şengün misses time. Amen misses time. Fred VanVleet misses time, to the point where Jalen played point guard for the first time since his 8th grade year, and he's learning on the fly all the while, trying to get others involved as he's trying to get himself involved. And I'm like, and you still ended up in the number 2 in the West. And so, run it back. But they said the last press conference, they said, I'm talking about Rafael Stone and Ime Udoka said in their exit interviews that, hey, we're not developing players. We're not here to develop anyone. So, I mean, we're not in a developmental stage anymore. The way that Alpi and Jalen had that free range of motion to be able to develop and have that time to develop, they don't have that no more. So that's why Cam Whitmore isn't here anymore. And you know what, real quick, it's like he's one of the guys that I'm like, man, that can come back to haunt you, losing a player like Cam Whitmore with all that talent, but also with Jalen, because remember, the Clippers got rid of SGA, and look at him now. The Kings got rid of Tyrese Halliburton, and look at him. Yeah. Now, even though he's going to miss the entire season. So, but I know you didn't come on here.
So you got to win a chip, though, like in this 2-3 window to make it right. But like the one last thing to put a bow on that, like, again, the parallels are both these teams came out of rebuild and were ahead of schedule. Like, their plan was to do this, but it's like, oh shit, like we're winning. Like, okay, like now what's next? And they happened for both, Slowick and Jalen Green. Like, they just had a sudden rise, and hey, that's what it is. Like, if you gotta alter your plan, if you're doing better than expected, then take the next steps.
Which is the exact same thing that I said. When I was on that former show that I was on, I said it's crazy because people don't realize this, that D'Amico isn't on the clock, but he's on the clock because he's a victim of his own success. Nobody expected the Texans to do what they did his first year, CJ's first year, Will's first year, and then they repeated it. So now, like, D'Amico may have one more opportunity to repeat what happened the last 2 years before the McNairs be like, okay, we want more. We want
the new bar is set. Like, this is the minimum now. Like,
exactly. And so he's a victim of his own success. He's not on the hot seat. So let me make sure that I say that he's not on the hot seat. I think Mike Tomlin is, but that's another story for another time. And I think that I seen that you put that out today with the coaches ranking. I was like, how is Mike Tomlin over D'Amico Ryans? But like I said, I hope that I have an opportunity to speak with you more once the season starts, and we'll get into some of that other NFL stuff.
Yeah,
but
anytime, man.
I came here to pick your brain, man. I came here to pick your brain, and and the viewers and the listeners want to pick your brain on this. Training camp observations. What are some of the things that you're going to be paying close attention to as the Houston Texans head into training camp?
Yeah, I think there's a couple obvious ones. I'm sure the first one that everyone's going to say is the offensive line. It seems like they kind of came out to a somewhat, starting 5 to see if that holds, which is obviously Cam Robinson at left tackle. That's going to be Laken Tomlinson at left guard, I believe, and it's going to be Jake Andrews at center, Titus at right guard, and Blake Fisher at right tackle. So it really seems like the center and left guard are really the two that could be, different guys playing. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I'm curious too to see, obviously we've been, I've been clipping stuff. We've all been seeing it from interviews, what the offense will look like. It sounds like it's, we all want it to be this or that. Like, that's not what it is. Like, it's a freaking amoeba. Like, they don't want to be into a box. That's what we were. Like, so they want to be all sorts of things. And it sounds like it'll be a mix of, New England, Los Angeles, and whatever they want to do. But something I've realized too, I was watching the Netflix series, the quarterback series on Netflix, and it was Zach Robinson came from LA under Sean McVay and was the first year OC for the Falcons. And I noticed in the early game, week 2 or 3 against the Steelers, Kirk Cousins is talking about how this playbook has a bunch of motions, which all the guys in these interviews are saying the same thing, which is a good thing. But it's going to take time to, you got to be really on your details. And there was a play where the guy motioned too soon, and then the ball was snapped and the ball hit him and it was a fumble. So it got me thinking, it's going to, we have to, at least me, myself, but fans, we probably have to prepare ourselves for some of these things to happen early on, probably in training camp, and then maybe preseason, early in the season. and not get too frustrated. Just know like you're learning a new scheme. So that's probably like a sneaky one I'm looking forward to see like how crisp they are in running the offense.
So before you go, because I know you have some other ones that you're looking at, and I'm glad I'm glad because I didn't want to interrupt what you were saying, but I have to ask you this. So the first concern or the first observation that you're going to do is what everybody else is going to do as well. Look at the offensive line. You wrote an article. I wanted to ask you about the article that you wrote about the amount of pressure that CJ was under last year, the amount of sacks that he hit, the amount of sacks that he took, the amount of hits for the amount of dropbacks that he did. And in totality, you look at it and it's a bunch of moving parts that caused the Houston Texans offense to fail last season. And so, you can look at former offensive line coach Chris Strasser. You can look at former offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. You can look at the way that offensive line unit performed, being one of the worst in the NFL. And, you could also blame CJ for some of the things. But that article you wrote was so detailed and it broke everything down. Do you mind sharing that with the audience about, exactly what you talked about and how some people want to blame CJ, but it wasn't all CJ's fault?
Yeah, so I actually need to revisit. I want to do a video because it's been a while, but man, I spent like weeks on that thing, dude. And it started out with like a simple question. There was like someone had tweeted like, CJ Stroud was responsible for these sacks. And I was like, BS, no, he wasn't. Like I watched the games. I was like, well, let me dive into it. And so, I go into PFF and these other advanced stats. And so that was the premise of the article. Like CJ Stroud was one of the most pressured quarterbacks. How much was his fault? And so like you can have stats like PFF can break down like the percentage of responsibility from where they came. And obviously LT was like rock solid, not a lot of sacks and pressures, but I found there were very little that were on him because people try to say that don't watch the Texans. He got sacked because he was holding the ball too long, which to me was total BS. Like I think there were times that he did, but the times that he did is because he was in second and long, third and long because they're constantly behind the sticks from predictable play calling, bad run blocking on first and second down. So, of course, when you're trying to convert a 3rd and 20, you're going to hold on the ball and try to hit a home run.
Yeah.
And when you're behind, you kind of do that. So there were times like that. But the one thing that really stood out to me is like, obviously the O-line was bad. And I would say 80% of it was coaching and scheme. And
the route concepts were horrible.
Route concepts. I mean, just there was no hot routes from what we saw. CJ not having control. Like we know all this stuff. Like I know you've been on it, you've been covering it, and like we've been like some of it's like kind of projecting, but you can see with your eyes. And now it's all coming out in interviews, and people like before that are saying we're speculating, we don't know. It's like come on, bro.
Yeah.
But one thing that stood out to me, and so like, yeah, most of it was coaching and scheme. And then personnel, really, it was just two positions. It was the two interior, unfortunately, the two guards. It was Kenyon Green, him not being, him not being anywhere close to what we thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
Probably played, one of the worst. And that could be also a tribute to scheme and coaching, him not running the right scheme, gap scheme.
And that was his third. He's been the third offensive system in the time he's been in the league.
I think he will do good with Jeff Stoutland in Philadelphia. But
yeah,
anyways, sure. And then right guard, I think that's like the big one is Shaq Mason, Mr. Steady Eddie, reliable veteran, like, never like all pro world beater, but, pretty solid, reliable guy. Like having two interior guys just fall off the face of the earth, like shit, man. And then you throw in all the other stuff. But like one thing I discovered in that too was, and this points that it was scheme, was our tight ends gave up so much pressure. Like I can't remember recall the exact number, but it was like 4 times like the next highest team. Like a lot of our sacks were due to tight ends, and we saw it. Like Dalton Schultz, a lot of it was simply most of the pressures we saw were like untouched. Like it was just guys running right by them. So again, is that coaching or is that personnel? Oh, that's coaching because they don't know what they're doing. They're not communicating. They're not on the same page. We heard it over and over again with D'Amico when we finally promoted Cole Popovich to O-line coach. He talked about this one voice. You've been on it, and all the other beat reporters said, yeah, there was like conflict of interest type stuff going on with O-line. Like this guy, Strausser saying this and Popovich saying this, but he can't quite take over. So guys don't know who to listen to. And you watch the product on the field. Yeah, they're confused. Like at the very least, you need to get that part down to give yourself a chance to actually block the guy. And at the tight end position, it was very evident. And then another part of the tight end pressures was, as the OC, Bobby Slowick, being a young OC, which obviously Kaylee's a young OC, but I don't even know if that's an excuse, but his awareness was bad. Putting, you hear about now all the interviews about this Kaylee offense. He talks of, and D'Amico talks about, you want to put players in their best position to succeed. That means you don't put Dalton Schultz on the biggest drive of the game and the last drive of the season in Arrowhead with the chance to tie the game on to block, George Karlaftis and Chris Jones on back-to-back plays. Like, no, you don't do that. Spread his ass out. You don't put him on those guys. And that was another great DC and Steve Spagnuolo, knowing that he could do something to get those matchups, and that won the game. They had 2 or 3 sacks on that final drive, and most of them were on Dalton Schultz.
It's funny you say
that was a pretty big revelation there.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think that the writing was on the wall and you could see what was about to happen. I don't know if you remember the Minnesota game where they tried to put Cade Stover on Jonathan Grenard. And after the game, Jonathan Grenard took it personal. He was like, I took it personal. He said, Sarge, how they gonna put a rookie on me? He said, that was so disrespectful. He said, I took it personal when they brought that rookie over there to try to block me. I said, yeah, this is going to be a game where he said I was already amped up because I was playing against the former team. But by the same token, I can't believe that they would put him. Now, it's funny that you bring the tight ends up. And I want to ask you a question because on Wednesday, I asked the question during the Texas Tailgate Talk podcast. I asked the question, will experience be the key to Nick Caley's success? The one thing that Bobby Slowick didn't do before he became offensive coordinator was coach a position. Nick Caley has been a tight ends coach, and I think that that's going to benefit him more because he actually knows what that position is supposed to do because he's coached it for so long. He also seen what Josh McDaniels did with the tight end. He also seen what Sean McVay can do with a tight end, and now he gets to incorporate that into his own offense. And now we may see a turnaround from Dalton Schultz. We may see the reemergence of Brevin Jordan. We may see Cade Stover, being a little bit, little bit better. Who knows? Maybe later on in the season, you may even see Luke Lachey, the rookie out of Iowa, get some run. But it's funny you said that about the tight ends, and I'm going to ask you: do you think that the experience for Nick Caley, coaching a position, especially the tight end position, and now being the offensive coordinator, that those are going to go hand in hand, and he'll be able to see what Bobby couldn't?
Oh, it has to. I mean, like, you bring up a great point, and that's something we all didn't realize until like last year. Like, wait, I mean, this guy never really led a position group, but now you go with someone like Nick Caley, who coached Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. Like, I mean, and so that's a big part of it too. Is like, I suspect that he didn't know how to lead. And you heard like the report come out, I believe, from Lance Zierlein about like on the draft process where he was like trying to like do this weird stuff to CJ, like intimidate him or like act big man to him. And so you kind of like piece all this stuff together and see like, and it's pure speculation on my part as a fan, but like, I boiled it down to like, could I envision him like getting after some guys to hold them accountable? And I was like, not really, like,
Bobby, you talking about Bobby?
Yeah. I'm like, not really, but like you look at Nick Caley, I'm like, yeah, that guy will get in someone's shit. But like, it has to come from like, you can't just do it. Like it has to come from the right place. So like, just from that alone, like that experience, but yes, like him knowing the position, he'll know not to put them in bad positions, to be or make sure you have the right tight end in the right spot if you're running that play off of that. Or now, the big thing is, and this is probably like another topic we'll get into, but like the players are more empowered from what I'm hearing. And that's how these other offenses are, the Rams offense, and then these Josh McDaniels, Bill O'Brien, New England offenses, is players can do different things based off what the defense gives them. It's not, hey, do this no matter what, even if you're in a position where this guy has leverage and, hey, suck it up and do that. So, I mean, that will help too. Like, If you have a run to this side or a pass to this side, like, I mean, CJ setting the protection one will help, but if it's a run and you're running behind an inferior tight end because someone's hurt, okay, let's check out of the play. Like, the awareness that Bobby had was like seemed minimal. Another example of that I feel like isn't talked about is the Chiefs game when Tank Dell finally got going. It felt like it was a concerted effort to get him the ball. Like, they were feeding him the ball finally, and he was balling. And then he got hurt, but like, it's like they installed this game plan. Okay, Tank plays the Z position. We're going to throw all of our routes and design all of our routes to the Z position being the number one read. He's out, and we're going to keep running the same shit. Like, adjust. Yeah. Now we're throwing to Jared Wayne as the number one read. It's like, bro, like, and so like that, and like being able to like see who's on where, and like, so that was very frustrating. But I think the tight end part is a big part of it. And then like his overall experience, yes, he'll be a first-time play caller, but he has a diverse background. He's been in multiple offenses. Slowick was only in one and only knew one system. I do think he kind of got dealt a bad hand in the sense that like he came in to run this system and the personnel he had was better for another system, but he had to try and force them to work in it, and he couldn't adapt because he didn't know. And again, he probably thought he was in this growing phase where he would have time to like really implement it, but we got better quicker than what we thought. So, but now D'Amico realizes, hey, adaptability was the killer. He didn't adapt. We kept running wide zone. Our guys were meant for gap blocking, bigger guys blocking just straight on. And Cole Popovich is the guy. It was said by Jarrett Patterson, and I tracked it all year because when I knew, like, I watched it. Like, when we ran gap plays, we ran well. And then so later in the year, those last 3 weeks, we ran really well because we ran gap scheme. And Jarrett Patterson said Cole Popovich is the one who said, hey, we need to run gap scheme. Yeah.
And then I was going to say, and the crazy part about it was, and I think that I reported on this throughout the season, and especially when we got a chance to talk to Chris Strausser, the problem was, and just like what you said earlier, the problem was Cole Popovich knew the NFL is a copycat league. And what started in week 2 against the Chicago Bears was the delayed blitzes, the delayed stunts. And when they seen that, because in week 1, Indianapolis tried to do it, but they were picking it up a little bit better. Then week 2, and from that point on, they were the defensive coordinators made it their duty to run as many delayed blitzes and stunts that they could against the Houston Texans because they knew that they were having trouble picking it up. Well, a couple of reasons was, one side of the line was doing one thing, the other side of the line was doing another thing. They weren't communicating with each other along the line. 2, with Cole Popovich went to Chris Strausser and told him, I know how to fix this. I can fix this. I know how to fix this, right? They're in the room and he's saying, I can fix this. I can fix this. But Cole Popovich wanted it to be his way. So now you got the players sitting there like, what Cole is saying is right. This is how we can fix it. Chris controls the playing time. Do I want to play? Do I want to play? Or do I want to defy him and then find myself on the bench or find myself out of the rotation? And so that's where that disconnect came from. But like you said, towards the end of the year, they started going more with Cole's way, because I'm going to be honest with you, by the middle of the season, Chris Strausser knew, hey man, I'm really just here to get a check now.
He's checked out, right? I mean,
yeah.
Like Aaron Wilson's reported that like he was like contemplating retirement for at least a year. He was just kind of hanging out. He's like, whatever.
Right. And
that's just like what I'm not trying to. I don't want to be wrong, but
no. You're right. And another thing is about with Bobby and the adaptability. And I asked Bobby repeatedly, hey, so can CJ not audible? And then come to find out, well, one of the reasons why CJ can't audible is because they're taking too long to get the plays in, which reminds you of who?
Long ass plays.
Bobby Stone comes from that Kyle Shanahan tree. Kyle Shanahan calls long plays. I tell people all the time, one of the reasons, if you go back and listen to Matt Ryan say, one of the reasons why they lost to the New England Patriots, why the Patriots were able to come back against them in the Super Bowl was that one drive where they should have kicked. I think they should have kicked the field goal, but they didn't. And he said, people kept asking me, hey man, why didn't I just audible out and run the ball and then take the field goal. And he said, because by the time Kyle gave me the plays and I get to the line and start looking, I did not have time to check out of the plays because now the play clock is running back.
Insane.
If you go and you look at year 2, a lot of the times, by the time CJ gets to the line, he's looking around. He doesn't have time to try to audible out of the play because he's reading the defense. The play clock is running down, and now you just got to run the play. And there's no, and so I remember I asked Bobby, and Bobby's like, well, one of the reasons why is because we're getting out of the huddle late because we're celebrating after big plays.
That's crazy.
What the hell are you talking about, Bobby? Where the big plays at? Those are few and far between. And so that's the one thing.
That's deferring the blame. Like, even if that is the case, like, bro, come on. You don't throw your players on the bus like that.
Exactly. And so, but looking forward, and we're still talking, well, let me do
But
this.
I want to say something on that too, though. Like, so I would like rewatch. I don't know if I'm gonna redo it this year, but I would like live stream all the games from the previous year. And CJ Stroud in the 2-minute drill before halves and end of games was phenomenal. And you know why? Because they were up tempo and they were able to kind of process things and get to the line of scrimmage quicker and ID stuff. And it wasn't all this BS. It was just play. Like the Tampa game, like he's just playing, go, go, go. So like that alone, like when you see that, like, hey, we're really good when we do this. Why don't we do more of that?
Exactly. Once again, tune into the Texans Happy Hour, sponsored by the Hall Family Estates. I have Garrett Williams, aka Houston Stressan's, with us tonight. And I know it's a little bit late, but like I always say, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Now, getting back to your training camp observation, I know that we're still just talking about the first one that you have with the offensive line. My question to you would be this. So we laid out what we think is going to be day one of training camp, the starting 5 as far as the offensive line is concerned. And left tackle was Cam Robinson. Left guard was Laken Tomlinson. Center was Jake Andrews. And I'm saying, I think they may give Patterson a chance too, but we'll talk about that later on. But Jake Andrews, Titus Howard, and Blake Fisher. How long do you stick with that group if it's not working? How long are you going to stick with that group throughout training camp if it's not working?
So I had Brandon Thorne on my show a while ago. He's like a scout, and he's like a national account where he like is an O-line guru. And he made a good point about the O-line. And it goes back to last year, like having that camaraderie and chemistry. Like, remember last year, like the starting 5 didn't practice together until like the last couple of days. And then that was the excuse early on. It's like, oh, they need time. Like, wait till week 4, wait till week 2, wait till week 3. Like, and then it's never clicked. And so with that being said, like, it's good that, in my opinion, last year, even though those guys didn't practice so late, the O-line was basically set in stone and like there was no competition. Whereas now the approach this year is like pretty much there's like really only one person that's guaranteed a spot, in my opinion. That's Titus Howard, because he can play a bunch and I think he's underrated. But so now it's like, okay, like now it's like a dogfight. But at the same time, you have to like have a deadline of like, all right, when are we going to set this? So now we can start get reps together with that 5. So as far as changing it, like I hope obviously it shakes out. It could change however it does. Like I'm not there. I don't know. I'm not at practice. I don't get to see the film, but I trust their judgment. I think the process and approach will be better, more competition. But yeah, I'm fine with it. Like, if they feel, I think they will be quicker to make moves, because unless there's guys that are head and shoulders above guys, but like it seems like we don't have, we don't owe anybody anything. So we don't have highly drafted guys out there. I guess somewhat, but like not a lot of money. Like I feel like the approach is different. We're not just going to give a guy a spot because we feel like we have to. Like they learned their lesson last year with that, like trying to, entitlement. Like no, like and they learned too last year, like, keeping guys on there too long, like it costs you games. So I hope they learn from that lesson. And I think that they would be, I guess it kind of depends on Nick Caley and the type of coach he is, but like just me speculating off of observing him is I think they'll be willing to move guys anywhere quickly. And then also too, like in OTAs, some fans saw this as a bad thing. I saw it as a great thing. We had like 20 different lineups. Like this guy played like guys playing all the positions. That was the time to do it. See who's good where, get them some experience. So now later in the season, when stuff happens, it will. You've already done that. So I think it could happen soon, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and let me make sure that I say this before we move on. because this show is live. Hey, listen, everybody that's in the comments, I see you all over there. I promise. I do it. I don't get off this show without acknowledging the comments on the side, and I will bring them up. Now, I don't know how long I'm gonna have Stressans, and if he has to go, then I definitely understand that. But I'm gonna stay and make sure that I get to these comments. So y'all continue to put your comments in the comment section and continue to talk amongst each other. But there'll be time where I will bring it back and put these comments up, because that's what we do right here on the Texans Happy Hour. All right, so you talked about the offensive line. We talked about the tight ends. Is there any other observation that you're going to be looking at during training camp?
I'm just excited to watch the defense, bro. I mean,
sheesh.
I'm obviously like a Texans fan. I'm biased. I tend to be one of the more optimistic fans, but I'm not just like a happy-go-lucky and just say it just cause, but like I say it because I believe it, and I provide my reasoning to it. But like I think this defense has a chance to be not only the best in the league, but historically great. Like this defense is insane, bro. Like, are you kidding me? Like Jalen Smith, we just drafted him. He's like our 6th corner. He's like our 6th defensive back. That dude's a dog, bro.
I talked about that Wednesday. I said Jalen Smith and Jalen Smith, the cornerback out of USC, and Jalen Reed, safety, out of Penn State, man. And I'm like, I put up a clip earlier today, and when I asked Kalen Bullock about Jalen Smith, and he's like, he can play all 3 positions. He can play the outside, he can play the nickel position, and he can play safety. I was like, now how do they do that 2 years in a row? They got Kalen and they got Kamari, and now they got both of those Jalen.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like, we're all focused on obviously Sting, Kamari, Kalen going into year 2. He's going to take a leap. Oh, we got CJ Gardner-Johnson. Oh, shit, Petrie's back. We still got Jimmy. I mean, that alone is a beast of a secondary. And then we trade up into the 3rd round and draft Jalen Smith, and people are like, oh, why'd we do that? And, some draft guys had him ranked, 7th round, whatever. Like, I think DeMeco Ryan earned the benefit of the doubt to draft a defensive back where he did. I mean, just like last year, Kamari last year, 2nd round, Kalen Bullock, 3rd round. Look what they did last year. They both could have / should have been in the defensive rookie of the year conversation. And so if that's the case, and he knows the type of players he wants those freaking head busters. I mean, he got Jalen Smith for a reason, dude. Like, you watch the video with Ja'Cory Oneway. Shout out Ja'Cory Oneway. All the guys that he's training, like, I don't know if it's just like he's just that good of a trainer, or like they're all that good, but like their footwork is insane, dude. Like, I know it's like hard because you're not comparing apples to apples, but like obviously Stingley, but like Kamari, his footwork is insane. Like all that 4.6 talk was nonsense. Kalen Bullock's footwork is insane. CJ Gardner-Johnson, his footwork's insane. But Jalen Smith, dude, like that video got me hype. The chat said head buses. Yeah. I don't know if you know what that is, man. Someone's gonna say pause. I had to slow down on that, but
no, you're right, man. And looking at that, I got an opportunity to speak with Will Anderson Jr. A couple of weeks ago. He had his 2nd annual football camp down in Georgia, so I went to Georgia to cover that. And I'm looking and I'm saying to myself, because I seen him during mini camp, right? I seen him during mini camp, and I was like, okay, I'm watching, and he's Will being Will. We interviewed him afterwards, but at the camp, I'm looking and I'm saying, yo, something looks different about Will, right? And then, because in 2025, I made a vow that I'm not going to say pause. I'm not going to say no Diddy. I'm not going to say none of that stuff. I'm just going to talk. And so when I seen the pictures of him working out with Myles Garrett and everybody else, I'm saying to myself, that's what it is. You see him with his shirt off, and now you can tell he's really,
arms, bro.
Right. He's really been working on his body. And his dad said, going into year 3, he said, this year we left him alone. He said, Will has maturity. Will is very mature beyond his years. He said, sometimes I can't even remember Will being a kid because he's so mature. And he said his mom and I decided that this year we don't have to tell Will nothing. We don't have to remind him of nothing. Will has taken it upon himself to train harder, to eat clean, to be in the best shape that he can be. And you can tell from looking at his body, I'm saying to myself,
Insane, dude.
yeah, like my God, but I understand where that comes from. And a lot of people will remember this. Because I remember reporting it, and I asked Daniil Hunter and I asked Will Anderson Jr. about it during the exit interviews. After that, after they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs,
Mm-hmm.
by the time we got into the locker room, they were in the back. Will was at his locker, and Daniil was sitting next to him. And Will had tears in his eyes, like real life tears. And you could just see Daniil talking to him.
Soft.
So before we even got a chance, before Will got a chance to, say what he said during his press conference, whatever, like you could see that big brother, Daniil Hunter, taking him, telling him, hey, man, it's going to be, I couldn't tell what they were saying at the time. So that's why I asked, hey, do y'all mind sharing what you talked about? And Daniil said, I told him, hey, just take this and use this as motivation, because this ain't the end for you. This ain't the end for us. We'll be back. But I want you to take this feeling that you're feeling right now and never forget that, and let it fuel you to be better. And I'm now that I'm looking at Will, from then till now, I'm saying to myself, yeah, now I can tell. Now I can see it. And so I love the fact that that all of them are putting that work in. I mean, think about it. Think about it, Stressan. We seen Aziz and want to improve so much in his pass coverage that he went to the elite camp in Puerto Rico with defensive backs. He was over there with Kamari and Derek Stingley Jr. The camp was led by Derek Stingley Sr. and Kalen Bullock and Jalen Petrie. And like I'm saying to myself, okay, I can see the defensive backs. And then I was like, oh shit, there go Aziz. And so he's over there working on his game. And you're right, man. And I know that I'm probably gonna sell this short right now, but that defense is so elite. Do you think that it can sustain whatever the offense is going to go through, those growing pains they're going to go through at the beginning of the season, to be able to sustain long enough till they can get it together?
Absolutely. I mean, they did it last year with much worse. I mean, we got more weapons, we got more depth on both sides of the ball, and like defense too. Like they had moments where they kind of dipped late in the year, but they had injuries. But like we all question why we're adding this guy, adding that guy. We got more depth, like so now we're more equipped, and so like that. I think that's part of the team building process. Is like year over year, you're getting a little more depth, a little more depth, a little more depth with the type of players you want in your system and the type of guys you want on your team. So like now this like foundation is like rock solid, dude. But yeah, I definitely think they can sustain some of that on offense if there's, some slower starts. I think the biggest thing is just I suspect we run more gap scheme, which is just more straight downhill running as opposed to the wide zone where you're behind the line of scrimmage running lateral for so many yards, which results in a lot of TFLs, which results in the second long, third and long. So worst case, we can keep the offense on the field a little bit more. We can, not be in these bad situations. And then obviously too, I mean, you look at the Lions game, 5 turnovers and you don't really capitalize on any of them. Red zone was a big issue. What do? You go get Jaden Higgins. You now have Jaden Higgins and you have Nico Collins, and then you have Christian Kirk. Like really, like Diggs was great as a slot receiver, but he really wasn't a true slot. He had transferred from being a outside receiver his whole career for the most part to now playing in the slot. He's not like the type of slot you think of as far as like the quick, explosive, twitchy guy like Christian Kirk is, who can now in an offense have option routes and use his brain as well. I mean, so that kind of skirts your question. Now, I'm saying the offense won't suck, but yes, I think they can sustain it. They did it last year. This defense, man, I feel like I've been having to restrain myself from saying it, but like I think they're going to be like a historically great defense, and the offense being marginally better will allow them to do that. Like all these games we saw last year, the Green Bay 3 interceptions, the Detroit 5 interceptions, the Titans 8 sacks. We lose these games. You lost these games, but those games, like if the offense can just do good and score and allow the defense to do that, like now you get out to a 2-score lead, things start to snowball. Like you saw how the Lions were last year, just rolling teams. Like once it gets like that and that defense pins its ears back and it's known passing downs for the other team now, like, bro, come on, dude.
Exactly. And with that defensive line, I like the fact that they went out that they have so much experience on that defensive line to be able to rotate, because now you have, players on that line. Of course, Tim Settle is a dog. We already know that, but you're getting
Facts.
Foley Fatukasi, you got Sheldon Rankins back, and now these guys are at the point of their career. They got Derek Barnett came back. You got
The Nico Autry, who we really didn't get
Autry.
any of what we expected out of him last year, being suspended and kind of, it took a while to get going.
But now you got a lot of these guys who are still athletic, but now they're playing more off of their experience and using that experience to do what they need to do. Because even if, Sheldon just crashes down and is able to occupy one or two of those, occupy two of those offensive linemen to free up, Daniil, or free up Will.
Yep.
Or hold them up long enough so Henry Toa can get through, or so Aziz can get through. I think that having that experience and having
continuity,
that continuity, and having the Houston Texans mindset, that swarm mentality, man, I think that that's what's going to help that defense a lot. I want to go back to the offensive side of the ball. Does Dameon Pierce make this team?
Man, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, you got Mixon, you got Chubb, you got Pierce, we got Woody Marks. I haven't even talked about him in a while. I mean, they drafted him for a reason. You got Dare, you still have Jawar Jordan and British Brooks. I mean, I love Dameon Pierce. Like, he could fare better in this system if it does, run the gap scheme, which is what he ran his first year and had a great rookie year where he runs downhill, as opposed to the Slowick system where it's more cerebral and sight and vision, which he wasn't good at. I think it's going to be tough. And, Texans Cap, shout out Texans Cap. He had a Q&A, and I was asking him if he thinks that there'll be any trades before the season. And he says that he thinks there will be around, the cut down, roster cut down, which, so it's probably like players that you're going to cut, you trade, or players on other teams that are going to get cut, you trade for like a 6th or 7th round pick. But I could see that being the situation with him. I mean, getting traded for a 6th or 7th round pick. I mean, I don't know what, I know people say he has the kick return ability, but you just signed Braxton Berrios, a former All-Pro kick returner. They just changed the kick return rules now where they're, supposed to have more returns. He's a reliable kick returner. I'm pretty sure that I know Kirk and Noel can do punt. I'm sure they could do kick return as well. So that's really all he has going for him right now. I mean, before Chubb, maybe, but after you got Chubb, it's all right. What do you think?
Yeah, and Danny Barrett loves Dameon Pierce. He really does. He Dameon Pierce is like a son to him, but he also knows that, at the end of the day, it's a business, like we talked about with Jalen Green earlier. It's a business, and it's going to come down to the numbers and what can you do. Because when you look at, just like what you said, when you look at the depth chart, and if you can get 85% of 2022 Nick Chubb, you're going to be good. He's going to be backing up Joe Mixon, right? And then you still got Dare, who plays special teams, and so you got to keep him. And then you got Woody Marks. Woody Marks is the wild card because, as Joe Mixon gets older, as Nick Chubb gets older, you went out and you drafted a running back who can not only run out the backfield like he does, he can catch. Can he pass block? That's something that they're probably going to have to teach him to do. But because he is such a physical specimen, I think that they can teach him, hey, man, just get in his way at least. He's big enough to get in somebody's way and to stop him. And so they're using him to, to be that next Joe Mixon for the Houston Texans. And then that's what I say now. And then you still got the competition.
He could basically be a slot receiver too. I mean, so his that part of it, he's more, and they drafted him, him being on the roster. They could run 4 wide, and he could be running back in motion and be a slot.
And it's crazy because I've been saying this repeatedly. I'm I like Dameon Pierce. The one thing that Dameon Pierce got caught up in, because you think about it, this is his 3rd offensive system that he's been in since he's been in the league. He was was he under Pep, if I'm not mistaken? Or was it Kelly?
I can't remember the order. Tim Kelly. I don't know if he was before or after
Pep came after Kelly, I think.
I think so too.
Anyway, he was in that system. Then he was in Bobby's system for 2 years, and now he's in Nick Caley's system. And like you said earlier, this system may be the best for him, but now there's no opportunity. And because you do have so many other players that can play special teams that can, return kicks, it's almost like a number like he is going to have to. I mean, he had to have 1,000 yards of rushing in the preseason. Like, given the opportunity, like there's so many things I feel like he has to do. And even then, so here's the crazy part. Even if he performs well in training camp, even if he performs well in the preseason games, I think that they're going to use that as a trade piece. Like, hey, look what Damian Pierce can do, and we're going to get some draft picks for him. So
he's auditioning. I mean,
yes,
he's pretty much, and that's what a lot of players on the fringe are doing. Like, and so they know, like, they don't just check out. Like, yeah, you still try your ass off because other teams, they're all scouting everybody's rosters.
Yep. What do you do with Christian Harris?
That's
going to be a good competition between him and Henry To'oTo'o, because 2 years ago, Christian Harris balled out. That next year when he was out, Henry To'oTo'o duplicated that same season, which means that one, Azeez is a really good mentor. Two, D'Amico Ryans really knows what he's doing when he's coaching these linebackers. And now you get him back. Now, here's my theory, right? And I said this a couple of months ago on one of the podcasts. I'll say it here again. Why can't they use Christian Harris maybe to back up Jalen Petrie a little bit? He has the speed. He has the run stopping ability. You don't need him to cover for distance. You just need him to cover in areas, right?
Absolutely.
And if he gets switched on, to somebody and it looks like, then that's going to be for the back end to be able to help him. But I mean, because you don't want Jalen Petrie covering a go route either. You don't want him covering down the field that long. But Christian Harris, D'Amico Ryan said, he's like, Christian Harris is one of the fastest guys on this team. He's like top 3 fastest, if not the fastest. And so if he comes back healthy, I don't know if you just automatically put him in that spot. Him and Henry are going to have to compete for it. But I mean, look at the way that Henry performed last year. So I say, hey man, give him an opportunity to also back up, Jalen Petrie, because think about it. I think that CJ Gardner-Johnson said it when he was on the pivot, and it was something that I brought up a while ago. I mean, Jalen's like another linebacker anyway.
I've been preaching that since everyone keeps calling him the nickel, and like, yeah, technically he's a nickel, but it's like a misnomer. Like, he's more of a linebacker safety than he is a corner safety.
Right.
Like you mentioned too, like he's in there for like the run game and short to intermediate passing. And like the issues that you arise where he gets exposed is when you get in these ambiguous downs where you don't know whether it's run or pass. And it's like the Jets, it was like second and short or third and short. And now you press and try to be aggressive, and then Adams runs a seam route or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. And then that's a pretty interesting thought on Christian Harris, him potentially being a backup there. That would make it more of a traditional 4-3 than a 4-2-5 where your safety is acting as a linebacker. But Jalen Petrie, he is unique for his size. He plays with the linebacker's physicality. Like, that dude is like pancaking linemen, bro. Like, guys that are 220 pounds. Like, he's a freak. Like, he's one of my favorite players. I feel like he is one of the most underrated players, and I feel like he is one of the most vital pieces on that defense. I was a big proponent for us extending him, and we did it, and I was very happy about it. I know some people don't agree, but I think it's a very smart move. I think he is the piece that unlocks D'Amico Ryan's creativity, because he basically is a linebacker who can still cover. I mean, he's still also not terrible at coverage. He got beat a couple times deep. The other one I forget was like in the end zone, but he was still kind of there. So he does get beat some, but like, if it's third and long, yeah, take him out and put in Jalen Smith or an actual corner to cover. But like, if it's a down where it could be run more than likely or a short intermediate pass, keep him in. But you saw when he went out, like Jimmy stepped in and he kind of is that same role and he did good, but he got hurt. But like when we had like Miles Bryant or whoever else at the actual nickel, a true cover nickel, the creativity went away. Like we didn't have all these crazy exotic blitzes and doing all these games with Petrie where he's shooting gaps, stuff like that. But to answer your question on Christian Harris, I mean, people get mad when I say this, but I've been saying it for a while since the end of last year. But I could see him getting traded, man. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, but I feel like you failed to mention a very important name, and that's EJ Speed. I feel like people are sleeping on EJ Speed. You know, they're kind of balking at the signing, but I think, you know, they signed him with a chance to start. I mean, at the very least, be a backup with Henry, a rotational linebacker, but I think he has a chance to start. He started for the Colts the last 2 years, highly productive, and people are saying too that, you know, oh, he had a lot of tackles because they were behind and they sucked. Like, that's not true, bro. Like, and honestly, D'Amico, he is like the exact type of guy that D'Amico likes. You know, he went to Tarleton State, a smaller school, came out. I believe he was playing like another.
Sorry, they got.
No, you're good.
They don't.
I believe he was playing like another position, so he's really only been playing that position for so long. You know, and D'Amico likes these developmental guys. Like, he said it like several times in his interviews about him. Like, he's got like a special spot in his heart to, like, it's almost like a challenge for him. Like, he wants to like find these guys that he can mold into something. It's like a challenge. Yeah, so I think that EJ Speed will have a role, but the Christian Harris thing,
You're
like,
right.
you know, like what's crazy about the Christian Harris thing is, you know, I feel like a lot of us are attached to that viral mic'd up moment against the Browns where he had told him something to do, and then he did it the next time and had the pick six, and D'Amico's like, I told you to do it, yeah. And like, and someone was like, yes, I love that. But like, you know, he's been wildly inconsistent. Yes, his potential is high. I mean, it's almost like a Jalen Green conversation. It's like, do we have time to wait for that? But like, is it ever going to fulfill? And then the whole injury thing's a big, you know, question mark. But like, my argument is, you know, people say like, well, wait till he's healthy. Like, was he not healthy last year? Like, if you're active, bro, you're healthy. This is the NFL. Like, they would have played somebody else. But the way the Texans are with injuries, and they, you know, ease guys back, they're not going to have you on the active roster if they don't think you can run. And, you know, he basically got relegated to special teams. Henry To'oTo'o took his job. Like, so like, you know, I fully expected they rested him that last game against the Titans. Okay, yeah. I was like, okay, come playoffs, like, he's starting. Like, nah, he played special teams the last 2 games in the playoffs, bro. And like, that wasn't because he was hurt. It's because he got beat out. That's my opinion.
Well, yeah, and you got to look at it like this too, Stressan, though. I mean, football is a violent sport, and it ain't something that you could leave and just jump right back in. Like, everybody isn't Adrian Peterson, because I think that Adrian Peterson is the real.
But how long do you need? He was back for like 6 weeks. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, but he didn't play.
If you're not ready, then go in the IR, bro. Like,
he didn't play like that. Like, to me,
no, he played the first game he played. He played Mike in one of the games. You know, like,
yeah, well, I guess I'm saying is you got to look at it like this. Like I said, Adrian Peterson is the real Black Panther. Like, he has vibranium in his body. He's the only one that can go out, snap back in 2 weeks. Like, he could tear his ACL.
Hopefully Nick Chubb too.
In 2 weeks, you'd be like, is that Adrian Peterson? I thought he was out for the season. No, man, he got vibranium in his system. I say that to say this. You also got to look at it like this. He missed all of training camp. He missed preseason. He missed so much time throughout the year. It's hard to just, you know, it takes a while. That's why they have the training camp for these guys to get back into football shape and to get themselves, you know, prepared like that. I know that he had time, but it just don't seem like he would, you know. And
then I guess it would have been risky too to all of a sudden put him over Henry, who's been there, and like, not even just the physical, but the mental. Like, you trust him to be in the right place, right? Yeah. So I mean, there is some to that, but like, you know, I think it's somewhere like in the middle, but some people write it off like he was injured. Like, he wasn't injured. I get, but like the game shape, like, I don't know. It's tough. I side with you a little bit on it, but not fully. I hear it. I hear the argument.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you gotta just think those guys trying to get back out there, and you know, it's like I think Indy told me one time, he's like, man, people don't realize like playing football is like running into a brick wall over and over at full speed, over and over and over again. Speaking of speed, man, I'm so glad that you brought that up. I didn't realize how fast he was until I seen him in minicamp, OTAs and minicamp, and I was like, man, he is getting to the ball quick. And
D'Amico likes that.
You know what else? You can't forget about this. Like, they got another dog on their team that they're developing, and it may take him another year to develop. But once he does, they're gonna have another problem as far as the linebacker position. Like, Jamal Hill is coming. Like
That's
Jamal
awesome
Hill,
to hear.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jamal Hill is coming, and you give him last season he had to get acclimated because he had only played the linebacker position for 1 year coming out of Oregon. You remember he's a former safety that went to linebacker his last year at Oregon, and then the Texans drafted him as a linebacker. So he's also still learning that position. But the way that he plays, and I'm saying, hey, in 2 years, this is going to be a problem. Now, Stresses, I know you got to get ready to go, and I know I can't keep you around for the comments. I will make sure that I get to the comments. But the last thing that I have for you, right? I was around this team, covering this team, when the former franchise quarterback was here in Deshaun Watson. I was here when Bill O'Brien put gas around NRG, lit the match, and then got into an Uber and drove off. I was here when after the first practice, David Culley said, I was standing around waiting for the coach to come to the middle, and then I realized, hell, I'm the coach, right? I was here when Lovie Smith. Said, yeah, I'll do you all a favor. I know that y'all were going to hire the guy who was only coaching middle school, high school football, coaching his son, had no coaching experience. And I know he had the job. And then all that other stuff went down with Brian Flores, and the McNairs got phone calls saying, hey, you can't put him in that position, not yet. And then Lovie Smith done him a favor. I was here when that dark cloud was just hanging over. I was the one that asked Brandon Cooks the question of, hey man, what are you going to do to get your mindset together to come back in for another rebuilding year? And he was like, mindset? I ain't going to be here. That ain't for me. He said that on record. I'm not going to be here. That ain't for me. So I preface my question by mentioning all of that to say, and how good does it feel with everything that we've talked about with the Houston Texans heading into this training camp, with the success that they've had the last 2 years, knowing as a Texans fan what you went through the years prior?
Oh, it feels great, man. I mean, that's, kind of why I've been so amped up and like just want to talk about, like, I think about it all, like you're like me, like, I mean, I think about it all day. Like, I'm obsessed. Like, I know the off season is long, but like it kind of goes by quick because like every day is like a game for me. Like, I get to look at all this stuff, envision what it's going to be like. But I mean, yeah, I mean, as long as you got D'Amico and Seven and CJ Stroud, like we're good. You got a legit head coach, former player. He gets it. He's a leader of men. Everything he says, like it makes sense. CJ Stroud, I mean, all this, the national media and people sleeping on him, like, to hell with all that. Like, I know who that dude is. Like, he is a top 5, top 3 talent. He will return to that this year. He'll compete for an MVP. He has all the tools. He's got the arm, the skills. But like, as someone who like devours every piece of content and watched hours upon hours of content from him talking, like, I know, it's, you still have to play, but like, once you get to know that guy and like see like the way he operates, like, he is one of those guys that's like, since he was born, like he was destined to do this. Like, this is all he wants to do. Like, this is all he cares about. But he's also a great person. He's also a hard worker. And he's also really freaking smart at football. And that's why like it was so frustrating to watch him be held back and like be handcuffed. And finally the handcuffs are off. So it feels great. And I've been saying this too, is, last year we were overhyped. And as a result, people like emotionally like feel like they got let down, whether it's fans or outsiders for picking us to be the darling. And now it's like this massive overcorrection where we're underhyped and people are sleeping on us, which is a better position to be. But I've been saying the hype and expectations that we all had last year is really this year. And so I understand, people have like emotional hedges and don't want to get too excited to not get burned. Screw that, dude. Like, I believe they're legit. I believe in Nick Caley. I believe the O-line will be good enough to succeed. I believe it's a Super Bowl caliber defense. And so like you said too, like we went through all that stuff. Like, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to try to protect my emotions from being let down. I'm going to enjoy this shit. I'm sorry. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm gonna enjoy this shit every single day. And then when we win, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I rode the wave the whole way. I'm not gonna wait until we win and be like, oh man, I could have been happy the whole time. Like, nah, screw that. Like, I know this team where they're gonna go, so like, I relish in it, dude. I love it.
Man, and that's good to hear, man. I definitely want to get your thoughts on that because I say the true Texans fans are the ones who weathered the storm. And like I said, when out there, being out there watching Deshaun Watson play safety practice squad, playing practice team safety. I mean, it was just a lot. And the Houston Texans fans endured a lot. And so I was like, y'all, the Houston Texans fans deserve everything, all the success that they have now, because I'm watching it live and I'm saying, like, I'm in NRG Stadium watching as Russell Wilson goes over to to his side of the field, and it ain't nothing but Seahawks fans. And I was like, well, what are Texans fans here? Watching opponents come into NRG, and it's more of their fans than it is Texans fans. But that slowly starts to change once Hannah McNair put her foot down.
Facts, big facts.
One day we're gonna talk about that. One day,
ain't no coincidence.
One day I'm gonna really one day.
A woman's touch, man, it can do a lot. I mean, my wife has made me a lot of a better person. Hannah McNair has made the Texans a much better organization.
All I'm gonna say is this. After the Indianapolis game, 3 years ago, after the Indianapolis, 4 years ago, I think 3, 4, after the Indianapolis game where they won and they fired Lovey on the spot, they did the press conference, right? And so we're at the press conference. It's the most humble I've ever seen Nick Caserio in his life. Like, I could barely even hear Nick. And if you've ever heard Nick talk, he has no problem with hearing him. And you could see the humility, in his face, in his eyes. It wasn't a lot of word salad that he does from time to time. And I'm looking at him and I'm listening to him and I'm looking at him. And then I realized what was going on. Because Hannah normally didn't come to those type. She didn't come to the press conference like that. Like, Kyle would show up, but for the most part, Hannah never showed up. Hannah was at this one. Hannah was sitting front and center. Hannah was looking Nick Caserio directly in his eyes, looking directly at him. After the press conference, it was myself and maybe 2 or 3 other local media members. We were just hanging around talking. Everybody had broke off into their little groups or whatever the case may be. And Hannah McNair walked up to the group and she looked at me and she said, Sarge, this is embarrassing, but I'm going to make you this promise right here, right now. And I got 2 other people that will back me up on this. She said, Sarge, this is embarrassing. She said, but I'm going to make you this promise. This will be the last time the Houston Texans will be embarrassed like this. And I said, oh, all right. I said, well, we'll see. Next thing I know, the Houston Texans have hired D'Amico Ryans. What? And once, I'm telling you, man, D'Amico being hired and his press conference when he was, as soon as he got hired, as soon as he stepped into the building for his press conference, man, it felt like that dark cloud that was over NRG just went away. And the amount of people that were there, the amount of former teammates, the amount of players that was there, coaches, things like that, like you could just feel it. He's like, okay. And then the next time you felt that feeling is when Will and CJ was on the stage. I was like, okay, they putting something together. And so I don't know if you after they won that game in Indianapolis to go, the week 18 game, they won in Indianapolis to go to the playoffs, right? To win they hadn't won the AFC South yet because Jacksonville still had to play against the Titans, but they had at least solidified themselves a playoff spot, something they hadn't done in a long time. And so Hannah comes in, she screams, whatever, get hugged, and then she goes. And then afterwards, she came back to me and she said, I told you. And I said, told me. I said, oh, I said, you did
That's
tell me
crazy,
that,
dude.
did you? You
That's
did tell me
crazy.
that. And so, anyway,
She's
man,
bad, man.
hey, she made it happen, man. She made it happen.
Queen
So,
Hannah.
hey, man, listen, I appreciate your time, man. And I say this all the time. And I want to I want to tell you this. Time is the most valuable possession an individual has, and it's something that you can never never get back. And so for you to give me an hour and 20 minutes of your valuable possession, man, I appreciate that. I support everything that you do. I love everything that you do. Um, you want to tell the people, do you have any upcoming articles? Do you have, because I don't want to ask about the content because you be
It'll
on it.
it'll
Man, you
find
are
you,
like,
bro.
I'm like,
Yeah,
God.
I
Like,
got a
wait a
problem,
minute,
man.
hold on, there's a lot going on.
Well, like it's just there's so much and the much that I post, I still like don't post some stuff that I feel like I still try to only post like stuff that people will like, but it's just because it's hot right now. The Texans, like we got a
Yeah.
lot of good players, coaches, but same goes to you for your time comment. Like, thanks for having me on. Like, it's been an honor. I've had a great time. I'm glad you came on my show and I got
Yeah.
to know you better. And
Yeah.
I love talking ball with you. But yeah, I mean, as far as articles, I try to do too. If I didn't do content, I want to start writing articles more. Like, I
Yeah.
wish I could do 1,000 things at once, but I can't. I'll start, writing some more of those. I want to write one on the gap scheme, like we were talking about,
Yeah.
and that
Oh, yeah.
Jared Patterson video. I want to do like an in-depth breakdown of last year when we ran wide zone versus gap and
For
what
sure.
the differences were, to see if I can find like, hey, yeah, this is obviously. But anyhow, so yeah, my website, HoustonStressans.com, is a free newsletter on there. I got a store with merch. I embed like a lot of videos from YouTube. If you ever like want to watch Texans content, it's all right there. There's forums, all kind of stuff. And then, yeah, on all my socials, at Texans Commentator on most and at Houston Stressans on the others. So, just subscribe and, appreciate you and everyone in the chat.
All right. So I want to ask you right here. Because, okay. So, side note, right? Growing up, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
36.
You're 36. Okay. I'm about to be, I'm 53 going on 54, right?
Okay.
And so what,
Man,
53?
you don't look
Yeah.
it, man. I thought you were
Hey,
like mid to
hey
late
man,
40s.
this ain't Shipley's donut residue right here. This gray hair, man. This gray hair. Look, you see that? I gotta go shave and get some of that off. But dang, I forgot I was gonna say this. Growing up, right? The type of trick that we used to try to play on my mom until she got hip to it is, if we want to spend the night at our friend's house when we go for a get together, something, we wait till everybody's around. Then we'd be like, "Hey, mom, can I spend the night?" Because now you can't cuss me out. Now you can't, you can either say yes or no, but you can't say the mean yes or no because there's too many people watching. So I preface that to say this: hey, man, well, can we get you back on the Texans happy hour?
I'm down anytime, bro. I'm down anytime, man. Like, I could talk ball all day. I mean, that means a lot. Like, you just hit me up. You got my number. I'm down whenever.
For sure,
I
man.
mean, I could have talked to you for another 2-3 hours. This is a good combo.
Yeah, man. I definitely want to have you back, man. And everybody, everybody appreciates what you do. And man, like I said, bro, I was reading your article today, and I was just like,
Had you not read it before?
I had never seen it before. So
it take you about like 4 hours to read that thing, or what? It's a long ass article.
It's a long, but I was just like, man, this is some good stuff, because I went on the internet. To look at something else. So, I'll give everybody, who's listening right now, I'm going to give you a preview on what Friday's show is going to be about. I want to talk about, can Kaylee help CJ ease the pressure of too high safeties? Can he find a way? Because last season, too high safeties was his kryptonite. Like, those too high safeties, like, they didn't. I don't want to, because like you said earlier, he's too smart to be confused. They just stopped a lot
well,
of.
they're daring you to run the ball, and we couldn't run the ball. So the answer is we got to run the ball, and I believe we can. So I'm not.
No, you good. No, you good. So and that's what I'm saying. Like, I want to know, because the amount of the amount of too high safeties that was ran in 2024 jumped, if I'm not mistaken, by 23%. I think in 2023 it was 41%, and then in 2024, 64%.
League wide.
Yeah, league wide.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so with the long developing route concepts, with everything that was going on as far as that Bobby Slowick offense, that too high safety kept a lot of things that the Houston Texans want to do at bay.
Yeah.
Right. And so now, I'm gonna.
And then on top of that, they're getting home in under 3 seconds, rushing 4 with stupid twists, simple high school twists and stunts. So it's like, yeah, this is easy money, bro.
Exactly. And so I went on to look at some stuff about, to do some research on that. And that's how I came across your article.
No way.
Like,
I saw it. I think it's like the way I worded it, but like that article is done really well.
Yeah.
I'm glad it did because I put a lot of time on it, but like it comes up if you search like most pressured quarterback. It's like, it's like one of the top. I was like, man, that's dope.
Yeah, man. And so that's how I found. I was like,
that's cool. That's cool to hear.
I was like, how did I miss this? So
what are the odds? So like, I just so happened to become on the show today.
Right. Exactly.
That's
man.
crazy, dude.
But yeah, so I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna talk about that, man, and I'm gonna use some of your article. So I'm letting you know that right now. That's how I knew
I
about.
got a bunch of stuff on there, yeah.
Because I think CJ had 740 dropbacks, and the only person that had more than him, I think, according to your article, is Patrick Mahomes with 770 something or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not like fully refreshed on it, but that sounds right.
Yeah, and so like I said, I'm going through and I'm like, oh shit, that's something that
I mean, if you want, just like pull it up and read it while you talk. I mean, I need to go back and do it, but yeah. So like the big thing was like, and it became apparent in the Super Bowl. Like Mahomes had in the first half or first 3 quarters one of, if not the worst performance ever by any quarterback in the Super Bowl era. And they're like, oh, it's because he's getting pressured so much. And then they show like the graphic or the stats. His pressure that game was like the same or even maybe less than the average that CJ had all season. But then CJ gets called sophomore slump, this and that. And like, oh, Mahomes doesn't have pass blockers. Like, what are we doing, bro? Like,
right. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's
I'm trying to, because I looked it up on my phone. I may have to go back to it.
You're good. Look for it. I'll talk to the chat. So shout out Brandon. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out Colby. Shout out Senora Buble. Shout out Pawn Shop 84. J Rock. Yeah, J Rock, you had a comment earlier, I guess, rebutting me on Christian Harris, talking about coming back from an injury. That is tough. I guess, like, my argument would be, like, if he is who we thought he was, like this ultra superstar, if it was freaking, whatever big Mike linebacker and he was out and came back, he would have probably jumped right in. But it's also tough for us because we don't know the actual nature of the injury. But, like, on that topic, though, I refer back to, from my observations from watching the Texans, listening to interviews, is they don't bring guys back if they're not healthy. So that's kind of like the crux of my argument. Like if they bring someone back, in my opinion, they're healthy. I get the game shape stuff, but
hold on. Here we go.
Yeah, J Rock, shout out Tay.
This was product of the H. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, Sarah, John McClain gave me some love on it. Shout out Sarah, she's in the chat.
Yep. H-Town Skills, I think I seen him in the chat. I'm pulling up the article right now.
I was just trying to keep some air going while you're looking it up. I wasn't trying to like run your stuff over here.
No, man, you're good, man. David. You are good.
That's my favorite, dude. I love live streaming, just interacting with people.
Yeah,
DJ
man.
Amazing. What's up, bro?
That's how I'm able to. Let me see.
Queen of Nobles, Larry and Stafford. What's up, Larry?
Queen of. Let me see if it comes up this way. Okay, there we go. Hold on. Let me see. It should come up that way.
Yeah, I've been planning to do that to make it into a video, and I don't know if I'm just. Probably the easiest thing for me is just do a live stream. J Rock says Watson versus Mechie. I mean, I lean Watson for sure. I mean, Mechie, he's like a slot receiver, and we got Christian Kirk, obviously, and now you got Jalen Noel, so that's 1-2. And then, Mechie, the thing that kills him, in my opinion, is he doesn't provide any value on special teams. Like if you don't, if you're on the fringe and you don't play special teams, and then you got Braxton Berrios. He's another slot who I think Braxton Berrios is being slept on as a role in this team. I think he's a lock. We mentioned the, former all-pro kick returner, and he's a good veteran slot who knows this system, was in New England. So there's value there, but this thing's a damn novel if you all haven't seen it.
Yeah. So this is what I was referring to, you all. CJ Stroud was the most pressured quarterback in 2024, but who was responsible? And I seen you just, you dove into this thing, man. And I'm saying to myself, wow.
Yeah, it's almost a book.
So I think this is what I was looking at. Okay, so CJ Stroud total dropbacks 703. Patrick Mahomes had 770. I think so his pressure rate was 39%, and
it's including playoffs.
Yeah, including playoffs. And the only person that was higher than him was Jalen Hurts. Wow.
Was that it? Which is crazy.
Yeah. Stroud faced more total pressure than any other quarterback. 274 is 39%. Pressure rate was among the highest in the league, but it's not the highest. Jalen Hurts and Sam Darnold, 39.1. Yeah, man, you really, I highly suggest that you all go and read this article. Hey, man, stresses can you reshare it and then tag me in it so I can reshare it as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because league-wide context did Stroud.
And feel free, like if you're gonna talk about topics, I mean, you can pull this up and use it for whatever, man. Like, and you don't have to worry about whatever. I mean, it's like
I'm gonna get.
I do because I like it, but it's information for us to like. Oh yeah, oh shit, like okay.
Shanahan tree, McVay tree, man. I'm telling you all.
I went crazy on this thing, bro.
How long?
I was like, I'm gonna write this article. It's gonna take 2 hours. Like, all right, it's gonna take 2 days. All right, like I was like, I worked crazy time on this thing, bro.
I see, man, and it's very, very detailed. You all go in and take a look at it. And I mean, because you break it all the way down. Like this is something that, like, this is what I tell people all the time. Opinions. We can disagree. We can agree to disagree on opinions. You can say, hey, I respect your opinion. I just disagree with it. And I tell people all the time, hey, look, you can't tell somebody that their opinion is wrong. If that's their opinion, that's their opinion. I don't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with mine. It's not ours. It's mine or it's yours. But this right here, I tell people you can't debate facts. You can debate opinions.
But this can allow you to shape your opinion, and you can still walk away. But I mean, if you read this and still say certain stuff, it's like, all right, dude.
Yeah,
but people say stuff in their opinion that's false, and so like, no, that's not true.
Like right here, fair criticism of Stroud's sack plays. Could he have taken the sack sooner at times? Possibly, but that's easier said than done when the offense was frequently in second and long and third and long situations. Something that you mentioned earlier on in the show. In those moments, Stroud had to extend plays to give the offense a chance to move the chains rather than simply take a loss. Could he have thrown the ball away or scrambled for 4 yards more often? Yes. There were times when a quicker throwaway or taking off for a short gain could have been the better option. However, given the Texans' struggle on early downs, he was often in situations where taking a check down or throwing it away wasn't ideal. He needed to push for bigger plays. The bigger picture, while Stroud extended plays sometimes resulted in sacks, that this wasn't a case of reckless decision making. It was a product of bad pass protection, a lack of quick game solutions,
facts,
and an offense that was frequently behind schedule. Man, I'm telling you,
we were all saying that there was no quick game, bro. And then like there was like a midpoint in the season when we finally threw a quick game. Like, oh shit, it works. Like, yeah, throw a slant.
And so so when you all get a chance, man, go in and read. Like, it is some really, really good.
There's a lot of like clips of like videos and stuff to support it and stuff like that. So,
how often did the Texans use play action? Before diving into performance, let's compare how frequently similar scheme teams use play action versus non-play action plays. Right there, you can see.
I forgot I need to reread this myself. It's so much.
But
who wrote that?
Man, that was some great work. And like I said, man, I'm researching for something else. I came across that and I was like, oh damn.
That's so cool, man.
I was like, dang, bro, you like really, really broke this thing down. Like you weren't even able to. There's like, Dad, come out, Dad.
Hey,
come
if you ever have an argument that we agree on and you want me to like provide this for you to have for proof, tell me. I love those, like, because you learn a lot too. You know, you can learn a lot diving into it.
And especially now before training camp, man, you can reshare that, especially with with the offensive line being the biggest concern, man. And like I said, when I started reading it, I was just like, I read when I read it, I put myself in whatever's going on. When I'm reading it, I'm like, if I'm reading about somebody in the forest, okay, so now that person and Sarge is in the forest together because I need to see what's around. So like as I'm reading your article, I'm like, oh damn, I remember, when they were playing against this team, and it was like, oh, they were playing against that team, or when, CJ dropped back, or one of the worst plays ever was that 4th down play in Kansas City in the divisional game. They didn't even have a play call because they didn't even know they were going for it. Half of the team was running. If you go back and look, half of the team was running off the field, and then it's like, stay on the field, we're going for it, and it's like, what? And so
that's where I don't know, like, if D'Amico was deferring to Bobby in those situations to go for it or not, or to have the play, or if maybe Bobby was waiting on D'Amico but wouldn't have a play ready. Because there's a lot of times we had critical late game situations that were kind of, and that's part of being a young staff. But that's a whole nother.
You're right. And another thing is too, real quickly, is that a lot of people, I'll say it, like D'Amico had some gaffes in his coaching last season as well. Like some of those things, that Green Bay game was on him. That Green Bay game was totally a coach's decision. Like you started depending on Kaimi Fairbairn too much, and you played for the field goal instead of playing for the touchdown, and you left the Packers too much time on the clock. I will always say this till I'm blue in the face.
But also too, like, that's what I want to know. Like, some of those decisions, like, was that him or was that Bobby? Like, because I feel like my intuition from listening to all this stuff when he talked about it, I felt like he delegated, like, offense. He just delegated all of it. Like, I feel like he's locked in on defense, and it makes sense too. But like, how do you resolve that? You get someone who's better at delegating to, which I don't know. Maybe he was involved on the play call or type, but at the very least, he should say, "Hey, don't do this." Like the Bills game, like we won, but we had a decision that we made where we had the play call where we ran it or we threw it right, and it was like the one time you shouldn't throw it. I think we got sacked. It's like, hey, run the ball. We run the ball all the freaking time, and then now it's late in the game. Hey, you should run the ball. Now we're gonna pass it. Like what? Like, okay, maybe that was Bobby, but D'Amico, you should be in his ear and say, "Hey, run the ball."
And that's what I'm saying. And there was a time managed that they should have beat the Packers. There's no if ands buts about it. And that was, I just feel like that was a time management thing as well. And then there was another game. Oh my God, hold on real quickly. There were
several of them.
Oh, the Jets game. When you are looking at this 3rd down play and you see, how in the hell is Jalen Petrie on Devontae Adams? And we're in zero coverage. We know that we're bringing the house. You're going to leave Jalen Petrie. It should have been a timeout. Hey, timeout. No, we can't do this. We're going to have to call something else because, we got to call something else because you can't have Jalen Petrie one-on-one with Devontae Adams. You just can't. And,
yeah, it was tough.
And I was like, so I felt like at that point when D'Amico's looking, I felt like he should have called a timeout and said, hey, we need to do something different. So there was times, that it looked like some things should have changed. I know that D'Amico doesn't like creating confusion throughout the season, but I just wish he would have created a little bit by firing Chris Strausser in the middle of the season. Like, if you're going to do. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. Sorry, I didn't.
No. I was just saying. I wish you would have fired him.
I was gonna say, some of those decisions. Like, hopefully he gets better. Like, there were some in the Chiefs game too. Like, I didn't agree with going for it that late in the game. Like you were like a lean on your defensive coach all year, and then you went for on like fourth and something crazy without even having a play called, and then also kicking, earlier in the game when the wind is like after the fact. Yeah, the wind was crazy. Like, well, how the hell do we not know the wind was crazy until he kicked it, and then Kaimi gets it blocked, and then I don't know. There's a lot of stuff you can divulge on, but I mean, I think they're trending in the right direction. Like, but like I was gonna say, you have to go through it as a head coach. Like, it's easier said than done for us, like on the couch. But like, I'm sure, like when you're in Arrowhead and it's freaking 20 degrees and you're cold and it's loud, like you don't think as clearly as me on the couch with a beer and a bag of chips.
That's what I always say. I was like, we go back and now we have so much access. When I was coming up, the media members didn't have the access to the exact same game film that the coaches have. And now, I can go on and I can look at I can look at the game. I can look at a play 5 different ways and say, oh, and just like just like a coach can do. And it's easy. I tell people all the time, hey, look, don't get caught up in playing Monday morning quarterback. And especially if you've never played the game, if you never played at the professional level, you never coached at the professional level. I'm not one of those people that say if you didn't play, you can't talk about it. But what I will say is at that level and at that time, like that, this isn't Madden. Like these people are really like they're actually playing they're playing in the game. They're not playing, it's not Madden. And Madden, you can pause and do all that.
It's real. It's different.
It's very, very real. So,
but if those things like continue to happen, then it's like, all right. But
yeah. Then you got to get rid of Bobby, which I knew was coming after the Lions game. Hey man, tell the people where they can find you once again.
We always do this. We always just keep talking.
Yeah.
Houston Stressan's, Texans Commentator, all that stuff. But I appreciate it. I'll hop out if you're still gonna stay on. But man, if you ever need me, just hit me up.
For sure, man. And I appreciate you, man. I'll hit you up tomorrow.
All right, we'll see you guys.
All right, brother. Thanks, son. Man, that was so good to have Stressans on. And like I said, I know, look, it's been 1 hour and 41 minutes and I'm not going nowhere. I said that I was going to go back and read these comments and put some of these comments up, and I will. DJ Amazing, what's going on? J Rock, what's going on? Tay, what's going on? Sarah, what's going on? Yes, Sarah, when we was talking about the players being missed, you're right. Foley missing games was huge in the run game. What's up, Clayton? Clayton says that Clayton Anderson from 713 Sports Talk says what he's looking for in training camp is 1, the O-line, 2, wide receiver, and Chubb's fit. Yep. You're right, Sarah. Long developing plays. Senor Boble, what's going on? Sarah says the national media blames CJ because they thought he called his own protections and assumed that he had full control to audible, and he didn't have either one. Queena, what's going on? Didn't CJ have something along the line of he stopped having fun last year? CJ did say he was not having fun last year. Tay said he'll take Stover over Schultz. He said Stover is more of a blank canvas. On the other hand, Schultz is more seasoned. Larry and Stafford, what's going on? The disconnect and descent of the coaches was probably known in the league, which further exposed the O-line. And she's talking about when Stressans and I were talking about the disconnect between Chris Strausser and Cole Popovich and the offensive line. They need to put that O-line ones against the D-line one and leave it on the field. Hey, let me tell you something right now, Tay. I've seen that. You need offensive linemen to be able to play in the season, man. You got to. What's up, Pawn Shop 84? D Skills. Yep, they some head busters. What's up, Sean Super Tech? Product of the H says it was incredibly frustrating to see how lost the O-line looked on a lot of those busted plays. Yep. Exactly. Senior Boblé says, I think if healthy, I believe Harris will take the job from Henry. That's a really that's interesting. And like I said, I had forgot. I ain't gonna even lie to you. Until till Stressans brought it up, I had forgot about EJ Speed. And then it's gonna be some competition. King Kobe 713 says the linebacker whisper. You talking about D'Amico? This is J Rock says that's harsh. The speed of the game is too fast to ask someone who only played 300 snaps to play at a playoff level right away. And when he's talking about with Stresses and I, we're talking about Christian Harrison. Stressings believe that he if he was on the active roster, he should have played. And I had a little pushback by saying I don't think that he was up to it. And J Rock, I don't think that you can just throw somebody back out there that quick who hasn't played the entire season, expecting to play at the level in which they played at the season prior. And so that's what J Rock's comments came from. What's going on? 119 dozen, 55 sweet. The problem we had on offense with Bobby are the same we had at the end of Gary Kubiak's tenure. And Richard Sherman says Seahawks were predicting the play calls, knew where Schwab was going to go with the ball. That's interesting. And then he came. The next comment was defensive players got more athletic, shooting B gaps, killing wide zone. Right tackle Newton on the bad knee was a black hole, but offensive line was a victim of predictability. Gary refused to make changes. That's interesting because I think one of the things that Matt Sharp said that he hated about Gary Kubiak's offense was that he couldn't audible. He said whatever play Gary called out that had to be the play, no matter what. He couldn't audible out of that play. Gary Kubiak gave no latitude to check plays. Kaylee would do the opposite with CJ. Now we go from West Coast super long play calls to Ironheart Perkins short call. Yep, exactly. Herringbone Hannah. What's up, Brandon? That's why the Texans have an H for Hannah logo now. He says PFF just dropped a new video explaining the different run schemes to people. Appreciate that. King Kobe says he loves both of our content, stressing and be on it with the latest news, and he does. Let's see what else. Sean Supertech says great work on that article, stressing. It's very impressive. I need you to do one on the Rockets. I agree with J Rock and Henry. J Rock and Henry had earned the job at that point. Yeah, he did. Yeah, Henry had a hell of a season. Henry Toa had a hell of a season. Shout out to Henry Toa. He got married, I think a week ago. A lot of people had a lot of interesting things happen in the off season, something that we'll get a chance to speak about and talk about during training camp. And so one more thing that Sean Supertest says, great art. There you go. Okay, need to do one on the Rockets. Gotcha. All right, y'all. It has been a wonderful, wonderful time I've had with you all. But I will be back tomorrow. It will be a little bit later on in the day though, because I had to take my truck in the morning to get it serviced. I wanted to give you all a morning show on Friday, but I had to take my vehicle in to be serviced, and I'm going to be out there a while. But make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure that you go over to www.bigsargemedia.com and check out my exclusive article on Nico Collins. Is talking about Nico held his first youth football camp in his hometown of Birmingham, Alabama, at his old high school, where he became a high school All-American, where he became All-State and became a high school All-American. In 2 years, in Nico's sophomore and junior year, they only lost one game. I think that they said they averaged like 45 points a game or something like that. but they only lost one game. Nico won state championship his sophomore season when they went 15-0, and then they were state runners up 14-1. But all that means a lot to Nico, but just going home, giving back to the community that supported him, that helped him to be able to see, his teammates. And, in part of the article, I talk about their friendship. Talk about how Nico was almost Nico was just like Will Anderson Jr. Will Anderson almost didn't play football, and Nico almost didn't either. Nico was ranked. Nico played in EYBL. He played in the Peach Jam. He was on the AAU circuit earlier on in his high school career, and he almost didn't play football, but he said he kept calling his name. And so, so that article will be out. So make sure you follow me on the app. Well, once again, thank you for joining the Texans Happy Hour. I want to send a special shout out to my guy, Garrett Williams, a.k.a. Houston Stressan. Man, I appreciate you coming on, spreading that knowledge, spreading that love. Y'all make sure that y'all go to his website and check out that article. It is an amazing, very, very detailed article. It's really, really good. Make sure you follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Oh, you thought I didn't have no more energy left? Y'all talking to Sarge. Make sure you follow me on the Tick and the Talk at Big Sarge Media. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Because we do everything for the gram. And make sure you are subscribed to the Texans Tailgate Talk podcast, available wherever you get your podcast from, and the Texans Tailgate Talk YouTube page. All one word, Texans Tailgate Talk. This ain't nothing but lemonade and water. I told y'all it's too late for me to be drinking. I'm at an age now where if I drink liquor this late, it's gonna mess my stomach up, and I am a lightweight. I want to be able to get up and go to the gym in the morning, so I know I ain't drinking no liquor like that. No. And the Texas Happy Hour was sponsored by Hall Family Estates. Go to www.hallfamilyestates.com. And they say you can't buy happiness, but you can buy wine. And that's the closest thing to it. Big Sarge. I'm out.
Big Sarge.